Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm doing a review of the Phenom Boxing MSHG-245 microfiber headgear. So stay tuned. Hey, what's up guys? Carlo here. Today I'm doing a review of the Phenom Boxing MSHG-245 microfiber headgear. This retails for $167. On Phenom's website, I got mine in black, in size medium. You can also get this in white. With 4 different sizes to choose from, small, medium, large, or XL. There is a sizing chart on Phenom's website that you can use as a reference aid to determine what is the correct size for you based on the dimensions of your head. It utilizes a synthetic microfiber exterior with round cotton laces for both the top crown and rear adjustment. You also do have a nylon with plastic quick clip system for the chin strap and an aniline interior liner on the inside, which is my personal favorite, which we'll discuss here in a little bit more in a second. And lastly, the headgear is manufactured in Pakistan. Now, this is going to be essentially the synthetic version of their genuine leather headgear or cheek protector style headgears, which are going to be the SHG-250 and the SHG-252. There's a lot of numbers and letters to remember when it comes to their model designations, which can be kind of confusing at times. So the SHG-250 and 252, as well as this one, are all pretty much identical when it comes to the shape and size of the headgear. The only difference is going to be the colorways for the 250 and 252. 252 have the contrasting colorways. They have 2 colors. So you have like a blue and silver. I believe they have like a green and gold, if I can recall. They have a couple other colors. Just check it out on the website. The 250 are all just solid one color, but those 2 models are going to be genuine leather. Now this is going to be, I believe, the first synthetic microfiber headguard that Phenom has introduced. It does carry the same premium price tag, which I know may put off a couple of people. You know, some people out there, they might look at it and be like, well, it's synthetic. Why are they charging more for a synthetic compared to the genuine leather? Now, what I can say to that is that synthetics have come a very long way over the years. I mean, I remember when I started reviewing synthetic gear, there was kind of like this stigma that it was just this cheap entry-level crap that you would get and it would fall apart after a month of using it. And in some cases it was. There was a lot of just cheap, crappy stuff out there from Everlast that was just really thin. You know, after 2 uses, I mean, it was starting to rip and tear, and the material was just complete junk. So there is some truth to that. But with that being said, I mean, there is so much gear out there now that is made in synthetic. Rival does a lot of their equipment in synthetic that definitely rivals, in terms of, and no pun intended, rivals genuine leather, both in terms of feel, quality, and ultimately just longevity, right? I think that's the big thing that you're trying to replicate and even get better at than genuine leather would be, yes, you want to have the feel of it, the suppleness, and the texture of the genuine leather. But I think ultimately what you're trying to do is replicate the durability, if not improve upon the durability of that. And I definitely think there's a lot of materials out there that are not leather, that are synthetic, like this microfiber, that does last a very long time. The other good thing about synthetics is that unlike leather, it's not an actual like living skin, where with leather, you have to condition it, you have to clean it properly. There's a little bit more maintenance that goes into a genuine leather piece of gear, right? Where with synthetics, it's not leather, so all you really have to do is just keep harsh chemicals away from it, wipe it down with a damp cloth, let it air out, and you should be good to go in terms of preserving the life of it. So I think that's where a lot of these companies now are coming from. They're introducing a much higher quality synthetics into their equipment, and you're seeing that reflect in the price tag as well. So this is essentially just a synthetic version of their other leather headgears. This is advertised to weigh in at 12 ounces. I put it on the scale and it weighed in at 11.5 ounces. So it's actually underweight, which is a great thing. And relatively lightweight for a cheek protector style headgear. If I'm not mistaken, I believe the winning FG-2900, which is probably the most copied and referenced headgear out there that a lot of other manufacturers use as kind of like the benchmark. I believe that one is supposed to weigh at 11 ounces. So this is essentially pretty close to that in terms of weight. I mean, 0.5 ounces, you're definitely not going to feel that once you put it on your head. So overall, from a design standpoint, you can see it does have that Japanese winning inspired shape to the headgear. The black microfiber in here has a satin finish. You also have the Phenom logo that is actually embroidered on the forehead right there at the very front in white, and you also have kind of like this stitched in patch around it. You do have my favorite, which is going to be lace crown adjustment, which is going to be the depth of the head. So when you put it down, that's what the crown does. It adjusts for the depth of the head, and you also have the synthetic loops to where the laces go through on the crown. You also have the lace adjustment for the rear, which is going to be the circumference of your head. So how tight it fits around the side of your head. And a lot of manufacturers still use Velcro. I'm not a fan of Velcro because I just feel it doesn't give the same fit as a lace-up does. And you know, like I said, there's some traditions in boxing that shouldn't be reinvented. You know, like I think a lot of brands try to reinvent the wheel, and some do good and some don't. And there's just certain things that they've done well over the years, over decades of the sport. And to me, the lace-up closures are great because it gives a really custom feel. The other good thing about the lace-up closure is if you're the only one using your headgear, I'm assuming you're going to be the only one putting this on your head, is that once you adjust the top crown and the rear adjustment, you don't have to adjust it anymore. You just put it back on your head, and then you put on the chin strap and you're good to go. So you have that. You do have a good amount of padding throughout the headgear. Now, the front of the headgear, that's when you're going to find the majority and the thickness of the padding. The exterior padding that faces outwards towards your sparring partner is definitely more of a firm, dense material. It feels almost like an EVA or really, really dense closed cell type of foam. On the exterior, on the interior that lines up against your skin on your face, it's definitely a softer type of foam. So they definitely use two different style of foams, a softer foam that's more comfortable and more form-fitting on the inside of the headgear compared to a more stiffer and firmer foam on the exterior. And that's obviously so that when you do get punched, that the firmer foam absorbs the brunt of the punch and disperses it throughout the entire headgear. So you do have that. You also do have the raised cheek protectors, and you know, that was something that Winning did with their FG-2900, and essentially what that is just the very tip of this cheek protector on both sides is slightly raised. You can see the indentation, and essentially what that does is just gives you a little bit more of protection for the front of your nose. Is it going to eliminate you getting hit in the nose completely? No. Any open face cheek protect style headgear, you still have the chance that you're going to get hit flush in the nose, or you can even get a broken nose. The only real way to prevent anything like that from happening, and again, there's always going to be a very small chance, but you're basically trying to reduce that chance, right? It would be like a face saver headgear. Really, that's really the only thing that's going to almost guarantee that you're not going to get any contact to your nose with. But they do the raised cheek protectors to give yourself just a little bit of extra cushion if you do get punched right there down the middle. So you do have that. You do have the ear donuts on the side, so nothing crazy there. You're looking at about an inch firm foam around the ear. You do have the Phenom crossbar right there, and that is on the same for both sides for the ear donuts. And then the liner. So Phenom, I think, is one of the first that uses the aniline or aniline liner, and I want to give a big shout out to Wingo, who commented on my hit and move video, because I've done a couple of videos with this type of material where I review it and I just don't know the name of it, but I tried my best to describe it, and Wingo commented and said it's called aniline or aniline. So big shout out, thank you for commenting that and putting that knowledge out there. But it is that aniline material, and it's essentially basically like a softer leather, but it almost has kind of like a rubbery texture to it. It's hard to describe, almost like a rubbery suede. And what I love about this material, specifically on headgears, is that one, it grips really well like a suede liner, but it doesn't soak up the sweat like a cloth or suede liner does. So you're kind of getting the best of both worlds. You're getting a headgear that doesn't soak up all the moisture, but you're also getting the properties of a cloth style headgear that grips onto your skin a little bit better. Where other headgears that use just the same leather material that they use on the exterior as a liner, it slips around a lot. So if you take a good shot, you have to continue to kind of readjust the headgear while you're sparring, which becomes a kind of a nuisance while you're training. So I definitely love the aniline or aniline material that they use in this headgear. I think it's a good compromise between both in terms of not slipping around and also comfort, as well as not soaking up a bunch of sweat once you have it on. At the very top crown, you do have the size label. It also has Phenom. It says made in Pakistan. So you have that at the very top crown. So you do have that there. So if you get your headgear, you want to make sure and verify that it is the correct size. You have that tag up there. And then lastly, the quick clip, which is, again, a lot of companies have done this. You have that quick clip right there, and that just snaps into place and makes it very easy and convenient to put on. And it is stitched on to the very bottom right here. It is a nylon strap, and then the other side, you have the female end of the quick clip, and you have this little leather, or should I say synthetic flap, which is nice, that goes over that so that the plastic clip isn't exposed, just in case you bump heads with your sparring partner. So let me go ahead and put this on so you guys can see how it looks, and I can describe to you guys on how it feels. So of course the crown and the rear adjustments already adjusted to my size. All I have to do now is put on the quick clip, and that's it. So the headgear's on, and then you'll just have to use your hands to kind of just adjust it just a little bit to make sure everything is lined up and your eyes are where they need to be at, the cheek protectors are where they need to be, as well as the ear donuts. So first things first, visibility, right? Peripheral vision when it comes to this headgear is really good. So in terms of horizontal and vertical peripheral vision, I can see very well. I can see the opening with my eyes. I mean, and that's something you're going to see with every headgear. I can definitely see the cheek protectors. But the good thing is that I still have a fair amount of vertical vision. So especially for uppercuts, and I've said this in many other headgear videos, the reason why I hate face savers is because you have this gigantic bar that kind of rolls out, because you got to remember the bar pokes out a little bit further than the cheeks do, the cheek protector style headgear. So essentially you have this big bar, and I feel like it blocks your vision from seeing uppercuts. Or what a lot of people do when they're sparring, they'll use that bar to their advantage, and they'll actually throw an uppercut, and yeah, they're trying to land it on your head, on your chin, but they can also land it on the bar, and because you're hitting the bar lifts your head up, and then here comes a right hand. So that's the reason why I don't like that. But you can see, and again, the raised cheek protectors do a good job. The other important thing about this headguard is to make sure you get the correct size. This size medium fits me perfectly. If you get one that's too large, what's going to happen is that these cheek protectors will kind of impede on your nostrils, and it'll kind of pinch down on your nose, which is uncomfortable as well. So, and making sure that you get the correct size is really important. And this does a really good job of kind of just butting up against my cheek and getting pretty close to my nose, but it doesn't impede on my nostrils, and it doesn't feel like it's like pushing into my nose, which is good. But yeah, vision is very good. Comfort, the liner feels real good as well. And then the actual dimensions for the ear donuts, if I turn to the side, my ears actually sit on the inside on both ear donuts, so there's no issues there with the ergonomics, you want to call it, with that. The top crown closure feels good, and I can get a full rotation. It's tapered on the neck, so I can get full rotation, and there's no issues there. So in terms of getting full rotation of my head, if I'm crouching and I need to look up, I can do so. You know, if you're taller than your opponent, you kind of need to look downwards, you can do that with no issues as well. So in terms of full movement with your head, the range of movement, you can get that with this headgear. And again, the liner feels really good. There is no pressure points, nothing on my temple, nothing on my cheeks, nothing on my chin or on the back of my head. So in terms of comfort, it feels good overall. And again, the aniline material that they use on the interior, it grips onto my face pretty well. So regardless of what headgear you use, you're gonna get a little bit of shifting. I don't think there's ever gonna be a time, especially if someone lands a really good shot on you, that your headgear might shift a little bit. What you're trying to do is essentially try to reduce the probability of that happening, right? So the materials that they're using over time will hopefully improve that and eventually virtually eliminate that. At least that's what the goal is. So I feel like this headguard does a very good job of that. So very comfortable. In terms of the way it takes punches, it's really hard for me to say and compare this to other headguards, because when I take a punch, they all kind of feel the same to me, and it comes really quick, right? So it's not like you have time to sit there and evaluate you know, how hard that punch was in this headgear compared to others. I'm somebody that tends to get headaches a lot regardless of what headgear I'm using, so I can't really sit here and say, well, yeah, I get a headache with this one and I don't get one with that. And the headaches are really from the concussive force. It's not because of the type of padding they use or this technology they use. It's just that concussive force. So if somebody lands a really hard shot on you, that punch force is going to go and rattle your brain, and that's what you end up getting your headaches from. So I think, you know, in terms of does it prevent headaches better than others? No, I wouldn't say so. But I think when it comes to headgears, and I've made a video about this before, ultimately the whole purpose of this is prevent cuts and lesions and cutting yourself opening if you get in a headbutt. It's not really there to really you know, decrease the probability of a concussion, although I do know that there's going to be some scientific backing that says that headgear does help with that a little bit, but you shouldn't use that as a crutch when you're sparring when it comes to using good defense. So in terms of the overall fit and feel, that's what I would go for with a headgear: how comfortable it is, how good your vision is, how does it allow you to use your head movement better than others. And I think that this Headguard does that very well. So let me go ahead and take it off. Quick clip, and you can see that putting it on and taking it off is very easy. At the price point of $167, I think it's a really solid headgear, especially for those of you that I know that are looking at, you know, like a winning FG-2900, which are a lot more substantially more expensive than this. And there's so many other copycats out there. There's so many brands that do this style of headgear that it's really hard to choose. But I definitely think Phenom does a really great job, not just with the headgear, but with all their other gloves as well. At $167, I think it's definitely a fair price, all things considered. Is this necessarily better than the leather versions? I don't think so. I think it's even. I think it's equal. I think it really just boils down to if you want a synthetic headguard compared to a genuine leather. To me, they're pretty much the same thing. So in terms of advantage of durability and all that, that really just depends on you, to be honest with you. If you're somebody that doesn't really like to maintain your equipment and do like leather conditioning and wiping your equipment off, then maybe the microfiber will be a better choice for you, just because it's going to be less maintenance over time. If you're somebody that just loves that look and feel of leather, then I would probably go with like the 250 or the 252. So if you guys have any questions or comments, you guys know where to put them. I'll put the link in the description box where you can find this Phenom Boxing Microfiber Headguard, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.